This will be an introductory class. So what is statistics? The branch of science So what is the subject which we are about to learn? Statistics. It is the branch of science that deals with the collection of data, analysis of data, and most importantly, interpretation of whatever analysis we have done. Correct? Why do we need to learn this? Because any scientific statement needs some backup, and for that we need to analyze a sample. Right, we need to study the sample and then draw our conclusions about a population, correct? And for that we need to manipulate data, we need to understand data, right? And so that is why we need this subject. So basically we have two types of analysis. One is descriptive and another part is inferential. Now, do we know what the arithmetic mean is? Or let me write it as mean. Do we know what the mean or the average is? Do we know how to draw diagrams out of data? Do we know how to make tables out of data, like make a frequency distribution and all? We know median, we know mode, we know these things, right? But here, say we have a sample of 500 people, correct? We are finding the average. The average will be based on these 500 people only, correct? These 500 people should definitely belong from a population. We are more interested about the population, correct? So whenever we are just describing these 500 people with the help of these or something more like standard deviation, variance, whatever be it, we are just describing these 500 people, correct? This type of analysis is called descriptive analysis, correct? And the processes which we use to draw inferences about the population using this sample is called inferential analysis. Now, so the backbone of this subject is data, correct? So first we need to know what data is. Data can be defined as numerical or factual information. Now, why numerical, why factual? Say I ask someone what his blood group is. Will that person say 1, 2 or something like that? No. Yes. They will say A, positive, negative, B, positive, B, negative, blah, 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 and so on. Whatever these are. So, these are just categories. This is not a number, right? So, whenever I ask someone what your blood group is, that guy is going to say something out of these categories. So, that's a fact. So, it's a factual information. correct? That is also data. And if I ask someone what his height is, that person won't say A, B, C, D or something like that, correct? That person will give me a number, correct? That type of data is called numerical information, correct? So let's classify data on the basis of these. Here this term quantity refers to a quantity, correct? So this must refer to a number, correct? And when the type of data which refers to a quality should refer to some fact, correct? So if I ask someone what grade he or she got in his past exam, what kind of data will that be? That data will be a qualitative data, correct? What grade he got in his past exam, that will be qualitative data. But if I ask what his blood pressure is, that would be quantitative data, correct? Understood everyone? Now if I ask someone what his family size is, will that person say 4.7? There are 4.7 people in his family. People in his family. 4.7 people কি করে হয়? 4.7 খানা মানুষ কি করে থাকতে পারে? হয় একটা গোটা মানুষ আছে নয় সে নেই। How can there be 4.7 people in a family? No. So, but if I ask someone what his weight is, that person can say 72.3, 7125, 7163, whatever be it. That person can go like this. So quantitative data is basically of two types. One is discrete, another is continuous. This, it is either 4 or 5. This type of data refers to discrete data and this type of data refers to continuous data. So what did we understand out here? Data which don't have any decimals is discrete data, correct? No, but you're wrong. Can anyone actually measure this weight? Can anyone actually measure this weight? Actually measure someone's weight up to this accuracy? And even if someone can, I can keep on increasing. Can anyone go that far? So in reality, we always get discrete data only. Even a data which can take 72.5 or 72 or 73, nothing in between. That is also discrete data only, correct? So in reality, we always get discrete data. We never get continuous data. But we can treat data like continuous. Understood? And how do we do that? I'll give you an example. I'll write 10 numbers. I've written 10 numbers. Let's do a frequency distribution. Correct? Here we know there are exactly 2 1s, 2 2s, 1 3, 2 5s, 1 6, 1 7, no 8 and 1 9. Correct? Now let me write the same data like this. Actually, sir, how many people are there? 5. How many people are there? 3. How many people are there? 2. Correct? Now, if I remove this part, we are left with only this part, right? Say, this frequency is 5. So, there are 5 people or 5 individuals in the range 1 to 3. Correct? What are their exact values? What are their exact values? In the previous distribution, we knew their exact values. But now, what are their exact values? They could be anything. Correct? They can be 2.71321, whatever be it. Correct? So, what are we doing? We are treating the same data as continuous data. Understood, everyone? It is the same thing. We are just changing the modes for our analysis. The previous type of frequency distribution is called ungrouped frequency distribution, and this part is called, or this type of distribution is called group frequency distribution. Understood? Tell me one thing, why is this called a frequency distribution? Because the total frequency 10 is divided into or distributed among these categories. That is why it is called a frequency distribution. Now coming back to qualitative data. It also has 2 types. One is nominal and another is ordinal. Say, I go to a class of 50 people and I ask their blood groups. Positive, negative. Correct? The frequency distribution. Now, if I want to list the data like this, it is still the same data, no change. Correct? Because there is no sense of ordering among these categories. Correct? But if I go to a class and ask what their grades were in the previous exam, and they say A positive got like 30 people got, A got 30 people, B got like 20 people got B, C like 10 people got all these, and D got like 40 people out of 100. Here, if I want to mess it up and write it like this, here it will be an issue, correct? Because there is a sense of ordering among the categories, correct? So, where there is a sense of ordering, we call that an ordinal data, because there is a sense of ordering. And where there are just names, there are no sense of ordering among the categories. This type of data we call nominal data. Understood this much? Now, if I go up to a class and ask everyone their phone numbers, they will give some phone numbers. What kind of data is that? It's a number. It's a number only. Tell me what kind of data is that? Say one person give his phone number. Another person give his phone number. Have you ever tried adding these phone numbers? Did you ever add these phone numbers? Do any mathematical operation with it? Do you ever arrange the phone numbers according to their ascending order? Do you ever do that? But if we have two persons and ask their weights, and if we ask them to stand on the same weighing scale, what will the weighing scale show? The weight of the first person plus the weight of the second person. Correct? So here no mathematical operation is possible. So this will definitely be a qualitative data. And since there is no sense of ordering, it will definitely be a nominal data. Correct? But if we are doing the weight part, so it is, if we treat it like continuous, it's going to be continuous. If we treat it like discrete, it's going to be discrete. Understood? Also another note, see in case of qualitative data, we just get some categories, right? So qualitative data is also known as categorical data. Diagrams. What kind of diagram we use? We use pie chart. We use bar diagram. And we use histogram. Now what does the pie chart look like? Something like this. This is the category A, B, C, D and E. The angles is proportional to the frequencies, correct? Now tell me one thing, do we know which is the first category out here? Where is the diagram starting and ending? There is no starting and end pointing in a pie chart, right? This is one category, this is another category, this is another category, this is another, this is another. We don't know which is the first one, correct? So, for nominal data, we can use a pie chart, correct? But for ordinal data, this will not make any sense because we cannot show a sense of ordering here, correct? In that case, we are going to use bar diagrams because even if these are disjoint, we can show an ordering like this. So for ordinal data, we can use bar diagrams. Now for discrete data, whatever we have. Here what kind of diagram can we use? We could have done this, we could have done this also. But which one will we choose? We will choose this because there is also a sense of ordering out here, correct? So for discrete data, we will again use bar diagrams. And for continuous data, the categories are continuous like this, correct? So in that case, we are going to use histogram. This much understandable? Now let's discuss on the types of bar diagrams, then we are going to come back to histogram. when we take two data from a single individual, we can use these multiple bar diagrams, correct? Like number of TB patients, TB cases among males and females in different districts of a state. Here we can use bar diagrams, multiple bar diagrams, like TB cases among males and females of different states in a country, or maybe different districts in a state. You understand? So here we can use bar diagrams, but multiple bar diagrams are of two types. One looks like this and another looks like this. Correct? Now, which one, like, which facility does this thing provide and which advantage does this diagram have? It's the same representation. We are either plotting the frequency here or putting it on top of the other. So, what facility does this one has to offer and what advantage does this have? Here we can compare just by seeing, correct? But here we can get a sense of total. This is the total number of TB cases on the first district, correct? But here we can see the difference between the male and female. Understood? হ্যাঁ, এখানে তুলনা, এখানে কম্পেয়ার করাটা ইজি হচ্ছে আর এখানে টোটাল বানানোটা ইজি হচ্ছে। টোটাল কতগুলো কেসেস হয়েছে। So this is called stacked bar diagram, this is called component bar diagram. So you know the advantages and disadvantages, which one to use when. Okay? Now coming back to histogram. They should look like this. The histogram should look like this. The histogram should look like this. For this data, the histogram should look like this. But this frequency 3 is distributed among this small place. Only a smaller class width. But this frequency 5 or this frequency 2 is distributed over this larger place. Correct? So is the area being proportional? Because for this, the 5 is distributed among this much width. So what is the area? Height into width. The width is class width and the height is frequency. Correct? So here the class width is less, so the area will be disproportional. So to fix this, we not plot the frequency out here. We plot frequency density. What is frequency density? Frequency divided by class width. That is 3 divided by 10. 5 divided by 20, 2 divided by 20. Now if we plot this, the areas will be proportional. Understood? Then the diagram will look something but different. Point 3. Point 3 mane dhore nilam etoটা. This will be 0.4. Will just be this much. And this will be 0.1 somewhere here. This is what the actual histogram should be like. Understood? But I don't think you guys will have unequal class widths So in Park it's written frequency only, but it's not right. Because if there are unequal class weights, frequency method will fail due to this. Now let me show you another classification of data. Say I go to a class and ask them what everyone's weights are. Like there are 50 people, 50 students, and I ask their weights. So I get 50 weights. We can arrange them in a frequency distribution like say 40 to 50, how many people, 50 to 60 kilos, how many people, and so on. Correct? We can do this. But if I like go to a hospital and I ask how many patients of a particular department do they have every year. So in the first year they give a data, for the second year they give another number, for the third year they give another number, and so on. Here say that in the first year they were like 1,000 people. The second year they were like 2,000 people. The third year they were like again 1,000 people. In the fourth year, they were like 2,500 people, and so on. Correct? So if I arrange the data like this, 1,002, 2,001, 2,500, 1, and so on. If I write 1,002, do we know which year we got the 1,000 and we got the thousands? কোন দুটো বছরে আমরা হাজার করে পেয়েছি আমরা সেটা তো বুঝতে পারবো না. So in this case we cannot arrange the data in a frequency order. Correct? This type of data is called time series data. Say we go to 5 different hospitals and ask them how many patients do they have in a single day. So here we are changing the like space, but we are having the same data only. Say there are 2 hospitals who say the same number. Again, if we write it down as a frequency distribution, we will lose information out here about which hospital got what. Correct? In that case, this type of data is called spatial series data. And when both of these change, like time and space both changes, like if I ask how many patients did they have for the last 5 days, differently, that type of data will give us cross-sectional data. Like I go to the first hospital and ask how many patients did they have in the first day, they give one data. They had in the second day, they give like another data. Third day, they have given like another, and so on. So we'll get 25 other data points. That type of data is called cross-sectional data. Now let me tell you, we know how to draw frequency distribution, frequency type data. We don't know how to draw this. So I'll tell you. There is something called line diagram. We know this diagram. When is this used? In case of time series data. Why? Because if we plot the numbers here, we can see whether it's growing or decreasing. We can easily predict things. Correct? So for time series data, we are going to use line diagram. Here the space is changing, the geographical location is changing. So for this thing, we are going to use a map. A map, a pictogram works fine. And for this, we are going to find suitable diagrams, whatever suits. Like we cannot plot two diagrams in the same, like 2D data in the same graph, right? Like it gives data on, like first category gave 5 data points, second category gave 5 data points. So we cannot plot all these 5 data in the same graph paper. So we are going to decide on what we are going to do there. But these are understandable. This much is understandable. Also another kind of data diagram is frequency polygon. That is not very important, but know it, how it works. So this is a histogram. If we connect the middle points of the histogram, and then remove the histogram obviously, whatever we are left with is called a frequency polygon. And if we like keep on increasing the number of intervals, then this frequency polygon will become smooth, something like this. In that case, this will be called a frequency curve. So these are all the diagrams we had. We don't have any more diagrams. আচ্ছা এতদূর বোঝা গেছে? This much is understandable. এতদূর বোঝা গেছে everyone? হ্যাঁ না কিছু তো বলা উচিত। হ্যাঁ না না। বাকিরা? After that we have our central measures of central tendencies. Which includes the mean, median, mode, etc. We have our measures of dispersion. Which are mostly their variance, range, SD, coefficient of variation, etc. And that much only. So these are we are going to dive deeper into this in the respective classes. But I'm just going to give you an overview of this. Acha, for me, if you want to find the average, what do we need to do? We need to add the numbers, right? We need to add the numbers. Can we add two blood groups? So for any of these, we can only find this in the case of quantitative data. Okay. So if you have to describe qualitative data, we can only do frequency distributions and diagrams, nothing else. And okay, we can sometimes do the median as well, only for ordinal data. We can do median for ordinal data. And obviously mode can be figured out for anyone. For qualitative, quantitative, anyone we can find out mode. If there is a frequency, there can be a mode. There can be more than one modes. But okay, we cannot find mean for qualitative data. For qualitative data, only ordinal type of data we can find the median, and for any type of data we can find the mode. And these are not possible for anything other than quantitative data. Understood? But as far as syllabus is concerned, we are going to do this only for quantitative data only, not for qualitative data. Now, what is a measure of central tendency? It is an average or a representative value which we find. It is usually the middlemost value, like the mean or the average is given by 1 by n summation xi. It can be called upon as the magnitudinal center. Why magnitudinal center? We add all the data's magnitudinal and divide them with the number of observations. There is something called the median. What is a median? It can be called as a middlemost value. Which can be looked upon as the positional center. We arrange the data in ascending order and try to find out the middlemost value, that is median. Achha, tell me one thing, why did we need the median when we had the mean? Average to chilo and the median ekana dorkar pollo. Average berobe? Can we find the average? Class 10 এ ছিল average বের করা যাবে না যাবে তো average বের হবে 25 that's a different thing altogether but the point is if I replace it like this can you find the average anymore median আর কোনো অপশনই নেই আচ্ছা tell me one thing I go to like 5 people and 10 people and ask them how much rice they consume in a single day. 10 people, how much rice they consume in a single day. I am arranging them in the ascending order. Is this believable? A person is eating this much rice in a single day. This is not believable, right? So we can look upon this as an outlier, correct? Now we want to find the average. This high value will affect this. This high value will affect this. This should have been tentatively should have been something around like 250, 200 or something like that. So how much this is more? 1500 grams more. So if I divide this by 10, the average will be like 150 grams more than what it should have been. Correct? So this value is influencing the average very much. But if I find the median, what is the median? 1, 2, 3, 4, this and this average. Is this being able to affect this? Is this affecting this? We're just counting the numbers from here and just doing like taking the average of the minimalist values. We don't really care about what the extreme values are, correct? So the median is more suitable when there are too many outliers. Understood? Too many extreme values which we cannot believe. In that case, we are going to use the median. Understood? And mode is the most frequent or the most probable value. That has its own uses. That is not relevant in this context. That is its own different uses. And what is measures of dispersion? Measures of dispersion is, say I give you 3 data points, data set. What is the average here? 2 plus 4 plus 6 plus 8 plus 10 divided by 5 is equal to 30 by 5, 6. The average is 6. Do the same for this, you're gonna get 6. Do the same for this, you're gonna get 6. Do it, you're gonna get the same numbers, same values. 2 plus 3, 5, 11. 2 plus 3, 5, 11, 20, 30. By 5, 6. Same, you can do that, do the same, like 5, 11, 19, 30. See? What is the median? 6. 6. 6. So can we differentiate the data sets using central tendencies? Differentiate kira korchi amra? Central tendency use kore median o same, mean o same. So how are we differentiating it? We cannot. So how can we differentiate it? We can differentiate it using the differences in the between. We can differentiate them with the help of the intermediate differences. So when we measure this, we are gonna define them as the measures of dispersion. There are two types of measures of dispersion. One is absolute. Another is relative. We find relative measures of dispersion just to get rid of the units. So this much descriptive we have in our syllabus till 3rd year, and after that in the inferential part we only have testing of hypothesis. That's our syllabus. Understood? Done?